I want to start first and foremost by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Rakah Kodash, and double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Stone who taught me this truth and who lead as examples to the flock. Not sure what I'm gonna name this lesson, but it's inspired again from a passage in a book that I'm reading, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. I highly recommend it as a good read, for brothers and sisters, who want, a good book to read, And this quote that you see here on screen pretty much sums up the passage that I'm going to read, and then, get into scriptures. So without further ado, let me just get into it. It says, when you decide to change your life for the better, and you start losing people and things around you, don't chase after it. It's what held you back in the first place. And as you can imagine, this topic this lesson is going into, you know, the fact that when you come to this truth, as a new man, new woman, new sister, you know, your values change. The things that were important to you before are no longer important to you, right? And now you've become a new person, and your values now are measured by the values that are outlined in the scriptures. And because of that, you will lose people in your life that don't align with those values, right? Because you won't want to go to the same activities with them. You won't believe the same things that they believe. You won't want to entertain certain conversations that you entertained before. So that will inevitably create conflicts and frictions in your personal relationships. And ultimately, that will mean that you lose them, right? So let me read the article, not the article, the excerpt from the book. So this is page 114, from the book. It says, and certainly you will weather rejections. Many of the relationships in your life were built around the values you've been keeping. So the moment you change those values, the moment you decide that studying is more important than partying, that getting married and having a family is more important than rampant sex, that working a job you believe in is more important than money, your turnaround will reverberate out throughout your relationships, and many of them will blow up in your face. This too is normal, and this too will be uncomfortable. These are necessary, though painful, side effects of choosing to place your fucks elsewhere. Right? Pretty much, we give a fuck about the kingdom instead of about things of this world. No, that is our ultimate goal. Right? It says, in a place far more important and more worthy of your energies, which is what? The kingdom of heaven, right? Yeah, as the scripture says, we desire a better kingdom. Matter of fact, let me just get that as it comes to mind, right? Uh, do, 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 do. Better country, right? Hebrews 11, and I'll start from verse 14. It says, for they that say such things declare plainly that they seek a country. And truly, if they had been mindful of that country from whence they came out, they might have had opportunity to have returned. But no, they desire a better country, that is, an heavenly. Wherefore Yahweh is not ashamed to be called their God, for he has prepared for them a city. So when we read that section again, it says, these are necessary, though painful side effects, which means, losing people, certain relationships. These are necessary, though painful side effects of choosing to place your fox elsewhere, meaning no, we desire, the kingdom, right? In a place far more important and worthy of your energies. As you reassess, Salakia, as you reassess your values, you will be met with internal and external resistance along the way. More than anything, you will feel uncertain. This is the part that doesn't apply to us. We should never feel uncertain about choosing to go the road that we're going. But you will have moments, when you're tested, of course, right? So let's get a couple of these precepts, that go along, with this. This is we're gonna start here in Matthew chapter 10 and verse 34. It says, think not that I am come to send peace on earth. I am not come to send a peace, but a sword. Right? And this is the same, Messiah that they call, gentle Jesus, meek and mild. But he's telling you here that he's come to sow division, right? For I am come to set a man at variance, meaning you're opposing, right? At variance against his father, and the daughter against her mother, and the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. And a man's foes, meaning enemies, shall be they of his own household. He that loveth father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. He that loveth son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. And he that taketh not his cross and followeth after me, taketh not his cross and followeth after me, is not worthy of me. He that findeth his life shall lose it. He that loseth his life for my sake shall find it. Now, I will clarify this and qualify this to say that if your transitioning to the truth does not, let's say, organically create friction between you and your family and your relationships, do not go forth trying to create those conflicts inorganically. Meaning, for example, if you decide that you're gonna come, you come to the truth now. You've told your family, say you still live with your family, and you've told them that, you know what, every Saturday, for instance, I'm going to be out. I'm going to be preaching. You know, I no longer want to eat pork. So if you're cooking pork in the house, let me know. I'll get food elsewhere, so on and so forth. And they agree with those changes that you've decided to make, and they quote well, not even support, but um they're not in opposition to them. Don't go picking fights where fights are not. Right? That's pretty much what I'm trying to say. However, if it so be that they say, you know what, you have to cook whatever is here, and I don't want any pagans in my house because you're worshiping a false god, and they're calling you all sorts of, you know, names, and they say you have to come out of them house, and that's fine. You know, if you're in a relationship with a female, you know, and she wants to continue living a certain life, and you want to change, and that blows up, let it blow up. You know, but don't go creating frictions for yourself where there were none. Right? I've seen brothers do that, you know, in this truth. You know, the scriptures say that we're supposed to suffer when we come to this truth, and our relationships will fall apart. But you shouldn't be the one to instigate that. Don't create more tribulation for yourself than is necessary, right? Don't go to your workplace being a super duper Israelite, you know, cussing out people, throwing scriptures in their face and all that. No, you should be Clark Kent, right? You should be Clark Kent, right? You should know how to move outside of this truth. However, naturally, there are certain things that you won't be doing anymore. You know, you're not gonna be out clubbing, committing adultery, smoking weed, eating all manner of abominable foods. You know, certain things you're gonna desist from doing, and that in itself, you know, will cause certain relationships to strain and then, you know, fall apart. This is First Peter 4, and I'll start from verse 3. It says, "For the time past of our life may suffice us to have wrought the will of the Gentiles, when we walk in lasciviousness, lust, excess of wine, revelings, banquetings, and abominable idolatries." Right? Wherein they think it strange that ye run not with them to the same excess of riot, speaking evil of you. I want to read that in the NLT, right? Verse 3 says, "You have had enough in the past of the evil things that godless people enjoy, their immorality and lust, their feasting and drunkenness and wild parties, and their terrible worship of idols. Of course, your former friends are surprised when you no longer plunge into the flood of wild and destructive things that they do, so they slander you. Let that happen. If it happens organically, let it happen, right? Let it fall apart. You don't need it, right? But remember that they will have to face Yahweh, who will judge everyone, both the living and the dead. And we're going to wrap here with Colossians 3, verse 5. It says, "Mortify therefore your members which are upon the earth, fornication, uncleanness, inordinate affection, evil concupiscence, and covetousness, which is idolatry, for which things' sake the wrath of God cometh to the children of disobedience." Let me read also this in the NLT from verse it's it says, "So put to death the sinful earthly things lurking within you. Have nothing to do with sexual immorality, impurity, lust, and evil desires. Don't be greedy, for a greedy person is an idolater, worshiping the things of this world." Right? Because of these things, these sins, the anger of Yahweh is coming. You used to do these things when your life was still a part of the world. But now is the time to get rid of anger, rage, malicious behavior, slander, and dirty language. Don't lie to each other, for you have stripped off your old sinful nature and its wicked deeds. Put on your new nature and be renewed as you learn to know your Creator and become like Him. Right? So, this is what we should bear in mind. When we become a new person, your values have no change. Your relationships that were based on the old values will start to fall apart. Right? And again, I reiterate, let those relationships fall apart organically. You don't be the one to try to instigate conflict where there is none. Right? But if those conflicts arise naturally because of you deciding to walk a different path, let them arise and just subtract yourself from the equation. Right? Let them walk out of your life. Right? Because ultimately, we will gain so much more in the kingdom. And we've had cases. I personally have had cases. Family members at first when you just come into the truth, they're all against you. But then after a few years, it's like nothing. They've learned to realize that this is now who you are. This is now a part of your life. This is now your walk, and they can't do anything to change it. So they learn to accept it. Right. So hopefully this was edifying, exhorting. Till next time, Shalom.